Have you ever wondered what happened to the great civilizations of the past? The Maya, the Indus Valley, the Roanoke colony. One moment they're thriving metropolises, bustling with life, and the next, they're ghost towns, swallowed by the sands of time. It's one of history's most chilling mysteries. Why did these powerful societies, seemingly at the peak of their power, just vanish? Today, we're rediving deep into the silent ruins and dusty records to uncover the truth behind the civilizations that disappeared, seemingly overnight. Let's start with a classic enigma: the Maya. For centuries, they dominated Mesoamerica, building incredible pyramid cities like Tikal and Chichen Itza. They had advanced astronomy, a complex writing system, and a population in the millions. Then, around 900 AD, the people in the southern lowlands simply abandoned their cities. The temples fell silent. The plazas grew over with jungle vines. What happened? For a long time, theories ranged from alien abduction to a mysterious plague. But the real answer, pieced together by archaeologists, is far more complex and serves as a powerful warning for us today. Evidence points to a perfect storm of disasters. The primary culprit: a severe, prolonged drought. Scientists have analyzed sediment cores from lakes in the region and discovered a drastic drop in rainfall that lasted for decades, even centuries. For a civilization so dependent on agriculture, on maize, beans, and squash, this was catastrophic. Imagine your crops failing year after year. The reservoirs dry up, and the food stores dwindle to nothing. Starvation becomes a real and present danger. But the drought wasn't the only factor. The Muons had also been engaging in endemic warfare. City-states were constantly vying for power and resources. As resources became scarcer due to the drought, these conflicts likely intensified. Imagine two neighboring cities, both starving, fighting over the last remaining water source or patch of fertile land. This constant state of war would have exhausted their populations and their resources, making it impossible to band together to solve the larger environmental crisis. And there's a third piece to this puzzle: environmental degradation. To build their massive limestone cities and to fuel their fires, the Meons cut down vast swaths of jungle. Deforestation on this scale can actually worsen a drought. Trees help retain moisture in the soil and release it into the atmosphere, contributing to local rainfall. By clearing the forests, the Maya may have inadvertently made their climate even drier, pushing their environment past the point of no return. So, it wasn't one single event, but a deadly combination of climate change, constant warfare, and self-inflicted environmental damage that led to the collapse of the classic Maya civilization. They didn't disappear overnight in a literal sense, but over a few generations, the society crumbled, and people scattered into smaller, more sustainable villages, leaving their magnificent cities to the jungle. Now, let's travel across the globe to ancient Pakistan and India, to the basin of the Indus River. Here, another great civilization flourished over 4,000 years ago. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as they built some of the world's first meticulously planned cities, like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, complete with sophisticated drainage systems, multi-story brick houses, and public baths. They had a standardized system of weights and measures and traded with faraway lands like Mesopotamia. And, perhaps most intriguingly, their society appears to have been remarkably peaceful, with very little evidence of weapons or fortifications. Yet, around 1900 BC, this advanced civilization also began to decline. Their beautiful script remains undeciphered, so we have no written records to tell us what went wrong. For decades, the leading theory was a dramatic invasion by nomadic Aryan tribes. This Aryan invasion theory painted a picture of a violent conquest that wiped out the peaceful heritage. However, modern archaeology has found very little evidence to support this. There are no layers of ash from a massive conflict, no mass graves of warriors. The collapse seems to have been more gradual, more internal. So, what's the current thinking? Much like the Maya, the answer seems to lie with the environment, specifically with water. The Indus Valley Civilization was the gift of the Indus River and another mighty river system. The Gagarahakara, often identified as the lost Sarasvati River mentioned in ancient Hindu texts, this river system was crucial for their agriculture. But geological and climate data showed that the monsoon patterns began to shift. The rains became less reliable. Even more critically, tectonic activity may have altered the course of the rivers. The Gagarahakara system began to dry up, turning fertile plains into a desert. Imagine a civilization built entirely around a river, and then that river simply vanishes. The lifeline is cut. The agricultural heartland dies. people would have been forced to abandon their great cities and migrate eastward toward the more reliable rainfall of the Ganges Plain. The decline wasn't a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, painful process of cities emptying out as their environment became uninhabitable. The great, unified Indus Valley civilization fragmented into smaller, more localized cultures. They didn't vanish entirely, but their urban, sophisticated way of life did. Let's hop over to the Mediterranean and talk about the Minoans on the island of Crete. Named after the legendary King Minos, this Bronze Age civilization was a maritime superpower. They built stunning palaces like the one at Knossos, famous for its labyrinth-like complexity. Their art was vibrant, full of leaping dolphins and graceful figures, suggesting a prosperous and possibly matriarchal society. They dominated trade in the Aegean Sea. Then, around 1450 BC, their world was shattered. Major palaces across Crete were destroyed and abandoned. For a long time, the prime suspect was the cataclysmic eruption of the Thera volcano on the nearby island of Santorini. This was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history, an explosion that would have dwarfed Krakatoa. The theory was that the eruption triggered a massive tsunami that slammed into the northern coast of Crete, wiping out the Minoan fleet and coastal settlements. The resulting ash cloud would have blocked out the sun, leading to crop failures and a volcanic winter. It's a dramatic and compelling explanation. However, recent archaeological findings have complicated this picture. While the Thera eruption was undoubtedly devastating, the timeline doesn't quite match up. Many Minoan sites show evidence of destruction that happened decades after the eruption. What's more, after the initial destruction, it appears the Mycenaeans from mainland Greece took control of Knossos. We see a shift in the style of pottery, weapons, and even the administrative language used at the palace. This suggests that while the eruption may have severely weakened them, disrupting their trade routes and agricultural base, the final blow might have been a human one. The opportunistic Mycenaeans may have taken advantage of a crippled rival, launching an invasion and conquering the island. It is a story of a natural disaster creating a power vacuum that was quickly filled by ambitious neighbors. The Minoan culture didn't disappear, but it was absorbed and fundamentally changed by its conquerors. Finally, let's look at one of America's oldest mysteries: the lost colony of Roanoke. In 1587, over 100 English settlers, including women and children, established a colony on Roanoke Island, off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. The colony's governor, John White, sailed back to England for supplies. Due to a war with Spain, he was delayed and couldn't return for 3 long years. When he finally made it back in 1590, he found the settlement completely deserted. There were no signs of a struggle, no skeletons, no graves. The houses had been dismantled. The only clue was a single word carved into a post: Croatoan. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, modern-day Hatteras Island, and the name of the friendly Native American tribe that lived there. Before he left, White had instructed the colonists that if they had to move, they should carve their destination into a tree, and to add a Maltese cross if they were in danger. There was no cross. The most logical theory is that the colonists, running low on supplies and struggling to survive, simply decided to move and live with the Croatoan people. They may have assimilated into the tribe, intermarrying and adopting their way of life. Over the years, there have been tantalizing hints that support this. Later, English explorers reported seeing Native Americans with gray eyes and knowledge of the English language in the area. Recent archaeological digs on Hatteras Island have uncovered English pottery mixed in with Native American artifacts from the correct time period, suggesting a European presence there. So, the lost colony may not have been lost at all. They weren't wiped out by a mysterious fate. They likely disintegrated with the local population to survive. They disappeared from English history, but their story may have continued, woven into the fabric of a new, blended community. So, what can we learn from these vanished worlds? The stories of the Maya, the Indus Valley, the Minoans, and Roanoke show us that civilizations are fragile ecosystems. They can be brought to their knees by climate change, by environmental mismanagement, by over-reliance on a single resource, or by social and political conflict. Often, it's not one single cause, but a cascade of interconnected failures. The fall is rarely as overnight as the legends suggest, but a gradual decay that crosses a tipping point. These stories from the past are not just fascinating mysteries. They are cautionary tales, reminding us of the delicate balance we must maintain to ensure our own civilization doesn't become another ghost story for future generations to puzzle over. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through history's greatest enigma. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button, and do not forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you will not miss our next adventure into the past. Let me know in the comments which lost civilization fascinates you the most. Until next time, stay curious.